Adventures in Preservation, Saving Architectural Heritage Around the Globe. Hi, my name is Emily. I'm an intern with Adventures in Preservation. Today I'd like to tell you a bit about who we are, what we do, and how you can get involved. Our mission is to save the world's architectural heritage by supporting community-driven preservation projects that seek to create economic and environmental stability. Now, what might that be? Well, we were founded back in 2001 when we were trying to combine our love of historic buildings with our desire to travel and understand the world. We were thinking about volunteer vacations and how that could be used to benefit our built environment. So that's what we came up with. Now, as you know, historic preservation is saving buildings, structures, anything that humans made. But it can also be more than that. When we save and restore these buildings, we actually save and restore the economies, the culture, and the sense of being of the places we go. I love this quote by Winston Churchill, "First we shape our buildings, then they shape us." When we go to a place that has historic buildings, we get a sense of place that we don't anywhere else. If you're in Paris, you know you're in Paris because of the Eiffel Tower. If you're in your own hometown, you know you're there because of the courthouse or that house on the corner or whatever it is. You have that sense of place, and we think that that's really important to preserve. Also, as more and more of us become ecologically conscious and involved in conserving our energy and resources, it's important to remember that the greenest building is the one that's already built. As you can see there, we talk about this idea of embodied energy, where every bit of building material that's already in a building has energy that we already spent, so let's keep it there so we don't have to spend any more energy. So back to our goal of saving the world's historic architecture. This is where you get involved, though. You get to hands-on restore and preserve all these wonderful buildings that make all the places that we visit so fantastic. We get to actually help the communities themselves and the people in them. As you can see, when we save a building, we can save the livelihood and culture of a place we go to. So why volunteer with us? We know you have a lot of places that you can go. Well, it's because we support community development. You get to meet lots of great people, and you get to explore a fantastic destination, either here in the United States or abroad. We get to build these communities, restore their housing, and promote their economic stability. It's a really fantastic way to do a lot of things. And did I mention that you can increase your awareness and work with historic materials? It's a really cultural and physical experience that's unparalleled. You get to have some fun too. We won't forget about that. Now next, I'd like to tell you about some actual trips that we've gone on, where history is in your hands. This first one that we went to, that we're going to talk about, happened in September of 2010 in Albania. Now this part of Albania specifically has a rich history that it stems from the Ottoman Empire and Albanian culture, and it combines the two in these beautiful buildings. Here's another site. Now historically though, the Christian population and the Muslim population have had conflicts, and there was a devastating war several years ago that is now over. So what we want to do is restore these buildings and also restore the communities. So we went in with Cultural Heritage Without Borders, much like Doctors Without Borders, to try to help the local community rebuild and restore their buildings. We went to the Baba Mato house to do two main projects. The first was to restore the wooden staircase was there. Now when you do these kinds of restoration work, you always have to take good notes because you never know what you might find and how things might change. So we actually recarved the baluster for the stairs, and in the process had to take down and rebuild it. The other project that we did there was to redo them and replace the plaster that was deteriorating. You can see on the right they're actually getting in there with the material and redoing it, and on the left we had the opportunity to look at the historic finish. So we're not just schmooing up whatever plaster we got, we're actually trying to make it look like it once did and restore its former glory. Upcoming in 2012, you too can go to Albania. This is the Skanduli house where we're going to be taking a look at a really, really lovely intact home, but also helping with the upkeep and maintenance. We have a lovely ceiling there made in wood. The craftsmanship is fantastic, and also a fireplace. So if you'd like to get involved, check out our website and sign up for that trip. Now, we don't just do things internationally, we also do a lot of great projects here in the US. This one took place in New Mexico, where we took off Portland cement from an adobe structure. Adobe is earthen bricks, and then redid the adobe and redid with lime plaster on top of it. So that was a really fun trip, one that was really important to the buildings down there. We take some time to relax too. Another trip in the United States was all the way in Cairo, Illinois. This was a town that was booming in the 19th century and has slowly gone into a decline. But the people who lived there decided that they wanted to start to restore bit by bit. So we went and helped them restore a building that's going to be a model for making affordable low-income housing out of the buildings that already exist. So here are some shots from that. A big part of it is windows, restoring windows and siding and all that stuff. We also did the porch there. It's incredible how well these historic buildings are built, that they can go for years without maintenance and still be brought back. Now, here's a long way from Cairo, Illinois. We went to Ghana in July 2007 and worked with the local communities there on two main projects. First, we helped rebuild a stone wall with appropriate materials. And that was a great experience because this house that we restored isn't just a house, it's actually a burial site as well for a really important local chief shaman who is buried within the house as part of their cultural traditions. We also went to the center city and restored a colonial era house that's going to serve as a culinary school. So this is what we're talking about with helping community development as well as buildings. In April of 2007, we took a lovely trip to Italy and went to a monastery there. Our main goal in this trip was to evaluate the stone columns that you see on the left. They're made of sandstone and limestone, and do a nice assessment of those for future restoration. And on the right, we worked with the lead fresco conservator in Italy, Alma, and this is her hometown. So we took a look at all the frescoes in this monastery to make a preservation plan. And good thing we did, because it turns out they're not frescoes at all, but an entirely different kind of mural painting. But this is something that's really special about our trips. You get to work with volunteers like yourself and also experts in the field of restoration that we're going to be working on. We'll come back to this area a little bit later, but keep going. Also upcoming this May, we're going to be going to Virginia to work on a fantastic Texaco gas station there. We're going to be redoing the windows as well as talking about appropriate lighting. As we become more energy efficient with our light bulbs, it actually can become a challenge to recreate historic looking lighting. So this is the Texaco volunteer team there on the right and the building on the left. Interestingly, when gas stations were going in the early 20th century, preservationists of yesteryear were upset about it because they had to tear down buildings. And here we are today, coming full circle and preserving an important part of American past. Also on this trip, we're going to take a behind-the-scenes tour of Colonial Williamsburg. So we'll have a little old and a little newer. Now, that monastery at Serravalle in Italy is actually quite close to Ponikva, Slovenia, which we'll be going to in 2011. The dates are up there. We're going to be working again on plaster on a historic house there, but there's another important part of this. There's the plaster, but in addition to the plaster, we're making a home for a collection of village artifacts that two elderly curators have been amassing for their lives, and we're going to make a home for them. So this is a really neat trip in that you get to work on the building and also see how sometimes historic buildings become house museums. And we're going to go to Italy for a couple days as well, so you get to experience not one but two cultures. So we hope that this got you interested in adventures in preservation. We'd love if you join us. Follow us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, go to our website. There's a lot more details, photos, testimonials about our trips. And if you have any questions or want to get involved more, you can also email us at info@adventuresinpreservation.org. Thanks so much, and we can't wait to see you on one of our trips.